I'm Janice Hossteiger. After 3 decades in the marketing business and many years of being an entrepreneur, I've learned a thing or two about marketing. Join me as we talk about marketing, small business, and life in between. Welcome to My Weekly Marketing. Someone, let's say your dream client, is sitting on her sofa tonight. She's got a problem. Maybe she needs a business coach or a web designer or whatever it is that you do. She's ready to hire, and she opens up ChatGPT and types, "Who's the best blank, designer, coach, whatever, for this problem that I have?" And your name is nowhere on the list. Not because you're not good, not because you haven't been working hard or don't have a website, but because the internet, specifically AI, doesn't know that you exist yet. You might be familiar with SEO or search engine optimization, and I've talked a lot about that on my podcast in past episodes. The problem is that now people aren't necessarily searching on Google as much as they used to. They're turning to AI tools like ChatGPT or Claude or other AI platforms. And even when you search Google, results from Google's AI platform, which is Gemini, now pop up first. So it's really important now to not only optimize your website for search traffic, but also for answer engine traffic. That's what today's episode is all about. My guest is Julia Bocchese. Julie is a search strategist who helps businesses get found online and attracts the right clients through search engines and now through answer engines like ChatGPT or Claude. She's the founder of Renee Consulting, and she's here to break down something called AEO and GEO, which sounds a little like a law firm, right? But it's not. This is literally about getting your business found in a world where AI is doing more and more of the searching. So let's get into it. Hey, Julia, welcome to My Weekly Marketing.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
So we've all kind of gotten used to SEO, right? We all have learned about search engine optimization, and I've talked a lot about it on the podcast. But today we're talking about AEO and GEO. And I know this sounds like alphabet soup to my listeners, but what do they stand for? Why do people need to be paying attention to these?
Yeah, so AEO is answer engine optimization. GEO is generative engine optimization. I usually just say AI search because, no one knows what all these different acronyms mean, but it's all related to how you're showing up on the AI platform. So ones like Gemini or Perplexity or ChatGPT. So when people are searching for the types of services that you have, the products or content that you're creating, that way you're getting recommended by them. So there's a lot of overlap with SEO, but there are a little bit of some nuances and differences too.
Okay. Do you think that this is something that people should do instead of SEO, or do you think we should continue to do SEO as well?
Yeah, so you can't have AI search without SEO because there is so much overlap. So definitely don't try to ignore your SEO. Also, Google is not going anywhere at all. It's continuing to grow. People are still using Google in addition to when they use like ChatGPT or something. They're just using them kind of in different ways or for different types of searches. So definitely don't neglect your SEO and I would say way more people are still using Google and kind of are a bit slower to adapt to like ChatGPT and Gemini when they are searching for services and things like that. So it's something that's growing, but it's definitely has not taken over Google. So you do need to make sure that you are focusing on your SEO as much, if not more, than all your AI search strategies as well.
And, I don't know about most people, but I turn to AI probably as much as I turn to Google these days. And I think that's not an exception. And even when we Google something, we're going to get results from Gemini, right? Google's AI tool.
Yeah.
So AI is changing so fast. What do we as business owners really need to be paying attention to, first of all?
Yeah, so definitely trying to stay up with all of the changes as you're able to, because it is changing really fast. It's still something that is kind of like people are figuring out and, sorting out for themselves. I would say at kind of the core of it, similar with SEO, you do want to make sure that you're still focusing on kind of like the human side with your website. So even if you are optimizing for SEO and for AI search and everything, still making sure that your website is speaking to, the humans who are going to hire you for your services or purchase your products, because they're the ones with the money. So
Hmm.
Google isn't paying you when they, rank you well on Google, but your customers and clients are. So making sure that you are focusing on speaking to the humans, as much as you are kind of trying to reach them on Google and AI platforms.
That is a great reminder. I've never heard it put that way, but you're absolutely right. We can even be top of the list on Google or anywhere else,
Mhm.
and if it doesn't appeal to the people
Mhm.
reading it, then it really is kind of pointless, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And Google would rank Google would always say, "Write for your customer first." Is that
Mhm.
sort of the same kind of mentality that you want for AI too?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So you definitely want to make sure that you're writing for your customers and clients first. So with Google and AI platforms, what they're doing is they are crawling your website for information to know what to rank you for, and then for the AI platforms, what to recommend you for. So the clearer that you are with your website copy, the more informative that you are, it's going to help both for SEO and AI search as much as it will for people who are reading your website and understanding what you do. So doing things like getting straight to the point on what your services are, the types of clients that you work with, things like that. That's going to be helpful for both Google and AI, but then also for people to know if you're the right match for them, if you have the services that they're interested in. I work with a lot of businesses that are in kind of like the creative industry, so like interior designers and photographers, and they want to get a little bit poetic with their website copy and like things like, I capture the big moments of your life, things like that. And it's really unclear. You can still kind of like add that language in, but I would say after you say that you're a photographer.
Right.
Also making sure that you have your location, if it matters for your business, somewhere towards the top of the page, which is helpful again, both for Google and AI, but then also for people who are in your local area who are searching for what you have to offer. One bit of a difference with AI and Google is Google will always, as long as you don't have an insanely long page, but they will crawl the entire page on your website or all the pages on your website. Whereas AI, they are looking for more quick information. So half of the time they're only crawling the first third of a page. So you do want to make sure that you are getting straight to the point, right at the top of the page. You're not, again, adding that like poetic language and then at the bottom of the page, say that you're a photographer in Philadelphia. Like you want to make sure you're getting straight to the point at the top of the page. But again, that's also going to help the humans. So they know
Yeah.
right away, what you do, what you offer, where you're located. Mhm.
So that's for any page? Like, what about like blog pages? How do
Yeah.
you set those up so that
Mhm.
AI can crawl those?
Yeah, so for blog posts, you can add, like when you're doing your introduction, you can kind of like summarize what the blog post is going to be about. Some people are also adding a TLDR towards the top of the
Mhm.
blog post. So if that kind of makes sense for your brand, you can do things like that. So yeah, don't just jump into the blog post with, if you're covering 10 different points, don't just start with number one. Have that introduction, have a bit of a summary on what the blog post is going to cover. Also, things like the meta description of a blog post and of your website pages are really important for AI because on the back end of your website, they'll read the title and the meta description before they read any of the content. So making sure you have things like the meta description filled out and optimized so that way they can see that little bit of a summary before they crawl the rest of the page or blog post.
Okay, I was just going to ask you about that, so I'm glad you brought
Mhm.
that up. Yeah, and I also heard somewhere that bullet points are really good for AI. Is that
Mhm.
true?
Yeah, yeah. So they like that, like kind of quick information. So bullet points, having FAQs on multiple pages as it's relevant instead of just having like one large FAQ page. Things like that can be really
Mm.
helpful. Hmm.
Okay, so break it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's answer engine optimization. Talk to me about GEO. So that's more about reputation, right? GEO.
Hmm.
Okay, so tell me
Yeah.
a little bit more
So
about that.
a lot of the things are exactly the same with both of them. So there isn't a lot that you have to do. So those are kind of the things on your website. And then some things that you can do off your website would be kind of building your brand authority. So this is where a lot of PR will come into play. So doing things like doing podcast interviews or getting featured by a local publication that's online, getting featured in directories, if it makes sense, having like a Wikipedia page. So finding different places that you can kind of build that brand authority, get brand mentions, and making sure that your brand message is cohesive across all the platforms. So that way AI can, connect the dots when your name is mentioned somewhere. So it's kind of a mix of SEO and PR and marketing in general as well.
Right, right. So are those the signals that AI can pick up on that a business is credible, is looking at
Mhm.
your overall, like where you are and what you're doing kind of thing?
Mhm. Yeah, so they are looking for kind of like these trust signals that, these other businesses are recommending you, they're featuring you. They are looking for reviews as well. So like if you have Google Business Profile set up or if you're on a directory platform that gets reviews, they're looking for that information like from other humans, other people like talking about you. So actually is like the top website that ChatGPT is looking at,
Mhm.
which you can't really put yourself on Reddit.
Yeah, that's right.
But if it is, yeah, if it's something that like your customers would be talking about, like your products or your services on Reddit, you can at least go to Reddit to kind of search for your business and see what people are saying about you and to kind of see like what ChatGPT and Gemini would be looking at. But yeah, they are looking for kind of like these trust signals that you are, you're good at what you do, your products are high quality, you're an expert in your industry. If you have any sort of like credentials or certifications, you can also add those to your website, adding testimonials to your website. So kind of like building up all these different types of trust signals can help.
Gotcha. Speaking of Reddit, I really think I've always felt like this is like the undervalued social media platform. I
Mhm.
don't actually even know what they call it, social media. It's kind of in its own little genre, I guess.
Mhm.
But there are so many ways that you can uh, build relationships on Reddit, even though
Mhm.
you may not even be using your own name.
Mhm.
Um, and you can make recommendations on there for blog posts that you've written or podcasts that you've done
Mhm.
or whatever. So you can actually get your name out there
Mhm.
on a platform like Reddit without actually, promotion.
Yeah.
And Reddit's pretty Redditors, is that they're called? Redditors,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think so.
are pretty nasty to people who are, really doing a lot of self-promotion.
Yeah.
They'll
Mhm.
downrank them pretty fast, but there are ways to kinda ease your ran into it, and I
Mhm.
have definitely connected with people on Reddit that have become customers, so I think it's kind
Mhm.
of an undervalued platform, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Mhm.
So we still care about Google, right? It's not dead, and in
No.
fact, it's going to probably evolve with everything that's happening with AI, right? Okay. So, and we wanna continue to do all the things that we were doing for SEO, is that correct?
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Mhm.
And then just a few other things on top of it.
Mhm.
And I've been surprised by businesses that have come back to me and said, "Oh, yeah, I found you on ChatGPT." And I was
Mhm.
like, "Really? I'm not really optimizing my site yet for it." So, it's kind of interesting how
Yeah.
they find things out about you that you
Yeah.
may not even know.
Well,
Um,
that could be, even if you aren't like focusing it on your website, if you are getting like these brand mentions elsewhere, those can definitely be places that like ChatGPT is looking at for when they make their recommendations.
gotcha. So, what if AI gets your business wrong? Like, what if it
Mhm.
describes you incorrectly? Is there a way that you can go and correct something or find
Mhm.
out how it's getting that information?
Yeah. So they actually did this to me. So
Oh,
my business is Julia Renee Consulting. And, I was doing a brand analysis. I did it both on ChatGPT and then also on Gemini. Everything with ChatGPT was accurate and Gemini was accurate. But then at the end, they also said, and Julia Renee Consulting is also owned by the same person who runs Julia Renee Styling in Austin, Texas. And I was like, I'm not a personal stylist. So I told Gemini, like, these are very different businesses. They're run by different people in different locations. I'm in Philadelphia. So you can just tell them, like, if they do get something wrong or they're confusing you with another business, they take that, data that you're giving them into account when they are making, further recommendations or when they're, analyzing things. And if they are getting information wrong or if they are interpreting things wrong, you can also just ask them, like, where did you get this information from? Why do you think I offer this service? And there might be, somewhere that you're being mentioned for a service that maybe you offered 10 years ago that you're not offering anymore. So you can also kind of like dig in and figure out where they're getting the information that isn't correct, or if they're just not coming up with any information about you or your business. You can, ask them if they have any technical issues crawling your website, or if there are things on your website that should be added in order to help them understand what to recommend you for. So the nice thing about AI is you can like have a conversation with them, whereas like on Google and SEO, it's a lot more kind of like testing and guessing.
Yeah. So you didn't have to go behind the scenes and talk to somebody at, Anthropic or one of the other big corporations. You just actually just talked
Mhm.
to the model and said, "Hey, you've got this wrong," or
Yeah.
"Where'd you get this information?" That's
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, okay. So is there something, how do we find out how we're presented on, say, let's say ChatGPT?
Mhm.
What's something that we could, like, ask them to find out how
Mhm.
visible we really are to AI?
Mhm. Yeah, so I would probably do like a competitor analysis if you want to see kind of like how you're being recommended or how other people are being recommended. You can also just go to ChatGPT and say, who do you recommend for, and then list like your services or the industry that you serve, things like that. See who they recommend, and then come back, and if you're not on the list, ask them like, why wasn't my business recommended? So again, kind of like having that conversation, but I would start off with kind of seeing who is being recommended. If you have any direct competitors, you can also ask, what they're being recommended for, or how ChatGPT is understanding their business. So you can make sure that, you're kind of like being recommended and seen for the same things. And, ChatGPT isn't like choosing all of your 10 competitors over you. You want to make sure that you are
Mm.
being included in their lists. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So let's run down here, and I'm sure that this is not going to be fully comprehensive, but
Mhm.
all right. So for SEO, we've already got like keywords in the headline,
Mhm.
H1 tags,
Mhm.
and also perhaps hopefully in the H2 tags or the subheads or the
Mhm.
secondary headlines on a page.
Mhm.
In your meta description, your meta title, so the
Mhm.
page title, all of the behind the scenes words that go on a web page. You also want to get backlinks, right? If you can,
Mhm.
from high reputable sites. So these are all the things that we're doing for SEO.
Mhm.
Now, what do we need to add? Like, can you give us a little list of things, a little checklist mentally that we
Mhm.
can add to make sure that we show up for answer engines as well?
Mhm. Yeah. So also kind of like with your headlines and everything, making sure that you do have sufficient website copy. So making sure you have at least a few hundred words per page, other than like your contact page where, you might just have like one or two sentences.
Right, right, right.
But making sure that you do have sufficient information. You can, if you want to see like what the top ranking websites are for the types of services or products that you have, you can also see how many words they have. So that way, kind of like what to target, making sure that you're incorporating the keywords within the website copy as well. So aim for like 1 to 5% of all of the words on that particular page. So making sure you do have enough website copy both for SEO and then also for the AI platforms. And then with AI, making sure you have some FAQs or like bullet points or kind of that quick information again on relevant pages. I would say probably like your services pages, or maybe your home page or your about page as well, kind of where it makes sense for your business in particular. And then with kind of the backlinks, also making sure that you're doing things like getting featured on directories or getting reviews on Google Business Profile. So even if people aren't directly linking back to your website, you do want to make sure that you are getting like brand mentions in other places as well. And you can also do like things like guest blogging and podcast interviews, or there's that website Help a Reporter Out, where reporters will ask when they need an expert opinion on something or a quote for an article. That's a
Actu-
really good way to kind of like.
Actually,
Mhm.
I'm just going to interject here because I don't think that one's around anymore. But there are
They
other ones.
changed the name, and then I think they went back. So yeah, it could be
Oh,
something
did they go
different.
back?
I
Oh,
think they
okay.
did because I mean they lost all their brand authority. I forget what the new name was. So you may
Okay.
have to Google it.
Sorry about that. I just wanted
No.
to.
Yeah, they definitely changed their name. I can't remember what it is now. See, like, and everyone knows it as help a reporter out Haro.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember the new name at all. So yeah, Google to see if that website is still around or if it has a different name. But yeah, that was a really good place to kind of get those like news features and be presented as kind of an expert in your industry. So trying to get kind of like those brand mentions in addition or, along with the backlinks as well.
Okay. Great information.
Yeah.
I think this is so relevant because so many people are not even thinking about this right now. In fact,
Yeah.
every single client or every person that I've talked to on a coaching call has really very little idea about using this. So I think doing something now puts you ahead of the game, right? So
Yeah. I do think a lot of people aren't using like ChatGPT and Gemini yet, but I think that, it's definitely something that's growing. I use like AI all the time because, it's part of my job and part of what I do. But like my husband, he uses ChatGPT like maybe once a month.
yeah.
So there are still a lot of people who are acclimating to it and starting to use it a little bit more. But yeah, if you can stay ahead of the competition and start getting recommendations now when it's just like maybe a little bit, and then, staying ahead of the game when more people are using ChatGPT and Gemini, I definitely think that's beneficial. So I would start using it now. And even if you're not getting like recommendations from ChatGPT, things like getting reviews and having FAQs and things like that, those are also going to be helpful for your potential clients. So it's nothing that's going to hurt your website or hurt your conversions. Everything's going to be something that is actually helping you in other ways as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's not something you want to keep pushing off to the bottom of your list necessarily. This is important if you want to get found online, and it will help you in all specs, not only with AI, but also with Google searches. Okay. So now I have a few rapid fire questions for you. These should be softballs for you. All right. Which one do you use? ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini? Where do you search first?
It depends. I usually will kind of alternate between Gemini and ChatGPT, but then also for like doing more things like strategy or ideas, I'll use Claude.
Okay. Biggest AI search myth? If it could be blogging, is there a search myth out there that you've encountered?
I think that SEO is dead.
Okay.
I think that's the one I hear the most.
Yeah. One tool that you couldn't live without right now.
Ooh, that's a good one. I think Claude is something that I was later to start using Claude, but it is starting to be something that's like been a lot more integrated in my business lately. So they have these different versions. So one is like online and then one is like an app on your desktop. I haven't used that one yet, but I've heard a lot of good things about like helping it organize all your files and things like that I definitely need help with.
Okay. So if AI is going to take over the world, do you panic or party?
Oh, that's a good one. I'd probably be panicking.
And the last thing you searched for on AI had nothing to do with work.
Probably I've been looking for shoes because so this is actually kind of a good example of like how people are using Google and AI differently is when you have a really specific search. So the average on Google that people are searching is like 3 to 4 words, and then the average on ChatGPT is like 20 words. So when people have a really specific search, they're not just going to ChatGPT for like a pizza shop near me, they're going to Google for that. But I have large feet and a lot of like shoe stores don't carry my size. So if I'm searching for shoes and I go to Google, they'll, give me a list of all these different websites, and then I'll go and not all of them have my size, or if they do, they've already sold out of it. So I've been going to AI to search for, I'll give them the parameters of my shoe size, what I'm looking for. And then also I want shoes that have at least 4-star reviews. Like I don't want any shoes that don't have any reviews or that have bad reviews. So I'm able to get those really specific results a lot faster than if I'm going to Google and having to like search through a lot of different results and not get what I'm looking for.
Oh, that's brilliant, really, because you can just put in all the details and say, go find these for me, and it will do that, right? Love it. Okay. So many people are writing copy with AI for their website, for blog posts, for you name it. Do you think that's a benefit or a deterrent, or doesn't it matter if like on your website? So if you've got a page that you rewrote using, let's say Claude, what is that going to benefit you, or doesn't it matter?
I would say if it's helpful for you to actually get it done, it's going to be beneficial. But you do want to make sure that all of the information that you are giving Claude or whatever AI platform is really cohesive with your brand. You're not just going to Claude, they have no idea anything about your business and saying like, write me a page on,
Sure.
SEO services. Like
Yeah.
you want to make sure that you are getting really specific on your brand voice, the industry that you serve, giving them a lot of really specific parameters, because that's going to give you the best results. And then going through and making sure that you're adding your like, personal voice or personal experience, adding in like, client testimonials or kind of like case studies, things like that, that will kind of like show that more personal side and connect with the readers. So if you have just like a really generic website copy page, like, that's not going to help you. But
Right.
if you are able to kind of like use it and edit it and make sure that everything is really cohesive with your brand, that's going to be the most beneficial.
Okay. I asked because even with SEO, when AI first came out, first Google said, no, you should never turn to an AI platform to write copy. And then it kind of backed up a little bit and said, it's okay. And I agree. I think when I use AI to write something, I usually have at least an outline written first, or
Mhm.
am really detailed about what I ask from it and give it lots of information.
Yeah.
And then I will definitely look it over, eliminate all the AI-isms that are in there
Yeah.
because they always throw in, and
Mhm.
then rewrite it and make it sound like it's your personal voice.
Yeah, and what you can do also when they give you like a blog post and you give them all the parameters, but then you go back and you edit things or take out, like ChatGPT, whenever I ask it to write something for me, it always uses the word like embark. I'm like, I never use the word embark. So like taking all of those out. So if you rewrite it, then you can send it back to the AI platform that wrote it for you and say, this is how I've changed it to better incorporate my brand voice or, add some like personal anecdotes. So that way it will continue to get better. So, hopefully you won't have to
Yeah.
totally rewrite it.
Right, right.
But kind of like when you're starting out, that can be kind of a good exercise to show it, how you're rewriting it and how you're kind of like using more of your voice in it.
Yeah. In fact, I think when I started on ChatGPT and I gave it writing samples from the
Mhm.
beginning and said, "This is my voice," and it's okay. It was okay
Yeah.
with it. It didn't. Yeah, but yeah, it has it has a ways to go, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, Julia, how can people learn more about you?
Mhm. You can visit my website, juliareneeconsulting.com. I have lots of resources on AI search. And you can follow me on Instagram at Julia Renee Consulting.
All right, now put all those links in the show notes. Thank you so much, Julia. I appreciate you taking the time to explain this really important thing to all
Yeah,
of
thanks
us.
so much for having me.
This is such an important topic. And like Julia said, it's changing very rapidly, daily, in fact. I highly recommend doing the quick search that she recommended and see where your business lands. And if you don't show up, that's your starting point. Either way, it's important information to know. I hope you found today's topic helpful. If you did, please click that follow button so you get all my episodes. For more information about anything we talked about today, visit myweeklymarketing.com/157. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.